The history of language is not just about communication, it is about power, control, and survival. Over the centuries, governments and empires attempted to suppress scripts they believed were dangerous, rebellious, or capable of preserving identity under occupation. Some codes were labelled subversive because they allowed messages to travel unnoticed. Others were erased simply because they carried cultural memories that authorities wanted to forget. What makes this story urgent today is that many of these lost systems were never truly gone. Scholars, cryptographers, and independent researchers have begun decoding fragments hidden in archives, field journals, and overlooked manuscripts. These rediscovered scripts reveal not only how people resisted control, but also how language itself became a survival tool. If you're serious about history and prepared thinking, understanding how these codes worked changes the way you look at secrecy, information flow, and cultural resilience. Why do authorities fear hidden writing systems more than open rebellion? Throughout history, open rebellion could be crushed with force, but hidden language systems were harder to eliminate. During colonial periods, several indigenous groups used layered writing styles that appeared ordinary to outsiders but contained secondary meanings. One well-documented example is the Cherokee syllabary, which was discouraged by authorities because it strengthened community organization and literacy outside state control. In Europe, the Rotwelsch cant, used by travelling communities, blended German, Hebrew, and regional dialects to obscure meaning from officials. What made these systems threatening was not violence, but coordination. For a modern viewer, the takeaway is simple. Language becomes powerful when it builds networks that outsiders cannot easily decode. Studying how historical groups embedded meaning within everyday speech can sharpen your awareness of coded messaging in modern media and online spaces. How banned scripts survive through everyday objects instead of books. Many suppressed languages did not survive through formal texts, but through clothing patterns, carvings, and household markings. Scandinavian runic inscriptions appeared on tools long after official writing systems replaced them, quietly preserving knowledge without attracting attention. In parts of North Africa, Tifinagh characters were hidden within jewellery designs, allowing cultural transmission without written records that could be confiscated. The practical lesson here is that information often survives by blending into ordinary life. If you are a researcher or content creator, one useful method is to look beyond official archives and examine artifacts, architecture, or folk art. These everyday objects sometimes hold linguistic clues that historians overlooked for decades. How codebreaking transformed lost scripts from mystery into usable knowledge. Deciphering ancient or banned scripts rarely happens through sudden breakthroughs. It usually involves comparing repeated symbols, identifying context, and cross-referencing with known languages. The famous decoding of Linear B showed how patient pattern analysis could unlock entire civilizations previously labelled mysterious. Modern enthusiasts can apply similar thinking by learning basic frequency analysis, a technique used by early cryptographers to break substitution ciphers. Even a beginner can practice by analysing recurring letter patterns in historical inscriptions or coded wartime letters. Understanding these processes helps viewers appreciate that decoding is not magic. It is structured observation combined with cultural research. Why were some language codes banned because they protected identity during the occupation. In wartime Europe and, parts of Asia, local dialects were discouraged or even outlawed because they allowed resistance groups to communicate safely. The Basque language, for example, became an unofficial code during certain conflicts because outsiders just couldn't easily understand it. Hawaiian language newspapers were restricted at times because they preserved cultural narratives independent of colonial influence. The deeper lesson for history enthusiasts is that language preservation often equals cultural survival. If you're, say, building a survival-minded skill set, learning even basic phrases from lesser-known languages or studying regional dialect patterns can really expand your understanding of how communication works under pressure. How modern researchers use digital tools to rediscover scripts once considered impossible to read. These days, breakthroughs often come from technology rather than physical excavation. Multispectral imaging allows scholars to read erased ink on damaged manuscripts, revealing layers of text that have been hidden for centuries. Artificial intelligence models analyze symbol repetition at a speed human researchers could never achieve alone, helping to identify linguistic structures inside fragmented writings. For practical applications, viewers can explore open-access databases like digital manuscript libraries to study historical scripts directly. Engaging with primary sources builds pattern recognition skills that honestly deepen your appreciation of both history and cryptography. What survivalists and history buffs can learn from the resilience of forbidden languages. Lost codes remind us that communication systems evolve under pressure. People who feared losing their voice adapted by simplifying alphabets, creating shorthand, or embedding meaning into art and oral tradition. One practical step you can take is to experiment with creating a personal shorthand for journaling or field notes. Historical examples show that even simple symbol systems can preserve privacy and speed communication. Another application is studying historical cipher wheels or substitution tables, not to hide harmful information, but to understand how humans solved communication challenges long before digital encryption existed. Why do rediscovered scripts change how we understand history itself? When a banned language is decoded, entire historical narratives can shift. Letters once dismissed as decoration suddenly reveal trade routes, resistance movements, or personal accounts that contradict official records. This is why linguistic archaeology remains one of the most exciting areas of historical research today. Every recovered script adds voices back into the story, reminding us that history is not only written by victors, but also preserved by those who refuse to let their words disappear. If you value serious historical insight, practical survival thinking, and deep documentary storytelling, make sure you subscribe to the channel and share this video with fellow history enthusiasts. Your support keeps these forgotten stories alive and helps uncover more hidden knowledge waiting to be rediscovered.